pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. So we have on our agenda item B2A, order of business. Be it resolved that the Board of Education hereby suspends the order of business for this meeting and this meeting only according to policy 2350. Could I have a motion, please?
Motion.
Motion by Trustee Gonzalez-Prescott. Could I have a second?
Second.
Second by Trustee Moore. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? So moved. We have the D item on second page. D1A, approval for legal defense as proposed on tonight's agenda. Could I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Trustee Safiri. Could I have a second?
Second.
Second by Trustee Holder Daniel. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? So moved. And now item number 4, which is the third informal budget workshop. I will, at this point, turn the meeting over to Assistant Superintendent Stacy O'Connor.
Thank you very much and welcome everybody. We have one presenter today and it's on a very big topic within our budget. That's Ms. Rhonda Young about special services, so I'll turn it over to Ms. Young.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to start by thanking the Superintendent and the Board of Education, the community, faculty, staff, for giving me this opportunity to present our department's budget this evening. I'm very excited. I also would like to thank the Board of Education, the Superintendent, Cabinet, especially Stacy O'Connor, because she helped so much with the preparation of this budget. But I also would like to thank everyone that wished me all the kind sentiments for my recent promotion. I promise to work hard and, you know, to do all that I can to improve the services that we provide for students with disabilities in this district. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay, I'm going to share your screen now. You ready for the presentation?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so the special services budget is approximately 15% of the entire district overall budget. My administrative team consists of myself, April Sinise, the assistant to the Director of Special Services Secondary, Dr. Garvin Romaine, the assistant to the Director of Special Services Elementary Speech and Hearing, the Coordinator of Health, Psychological, and Social Work, Mr. Sean Coffin. We have 3 assistant coordinators, Kimberly Clark, Denise Farrow, Miss Elizabeth Sheehan, and we have a medical director, Ms. Sue Averso, an administrative nurse practitioner, Ms. Helene D'Agostino, and we have an open position currently for the high school special ed department head due to the untimely passing of Ms. Christine Lindsay. Ms. Lindsay worked in the Brentwood School District for 19 years. She passed, unfortunately, on December 22nd. She leaves behind her parents, her siblings, her husband, and her 3 young children, ages 12, 14, and 16. She worked so hard for this district, and she finally got her dream job as a administrator. I'd like to take a moment of silent meditation and have everyone stand for just a moment in honor of Christine's life and her dedication to the Brentwood School District. Thank you. You may be seated. Please continue to keep her family in your thoughts and prayers. Next slide, please. Our vision at Special Services is to meet the academic, social, and emotional, physical needs of the students we serve. to provide the best possible educational programs to our students, to increase efficiency and streamline our practices, and to improve post-secondary outcomes for our graduates. Next slide. Oh, boy, we have a big staff here. We currently have 9 administrators. We have 2 teacher evaluators, 163 special education teachers working in the classroom with 3 perm subs. We have 5 teachers on special assignment, 24 psychologists, 15 social workers with 1 perm sub, 33 speech teachers with 3 speech perm subs, numerous contracted providers, 24 nurses with 2 vacancies, 122 teacher assistants with 42 vacancies, 33 school health monitors or aides, 17 subs with 13 vacancies in that department, 22 clerical staff. Our total active operational staff is 475 with 59 vacancies, total positions at 535. Next slide, please. Current student enrollment figures as of January 2022. These numbers are a little different than the numbers that are on the board report because I counted the related service-only students. Many of our students, their primary service is speech, OT, PT, or counseling. So we service about 408 additional students for those services. Our numbers continue to increase due to new referrals, intake registration, that's students that enter the district with IEPs already in place, and the social emotional needs and learning loss that we're seeing. Next. In addition to the 408 students that I added, we also service 72 students with a 504 accommodation plan. I believe we're up to 76 now, but when I created the slide, it was 72. And students with the 504 plan do not require specialized instruction, but they simply, require an accommodation to access the curriculum. Our district programs, out-of-district programs. We service approximately 740 students in our out-of-district programs, and that number continues to grow. We are seeing an uptick in enrollment of students with autism, behavioral concerns, social anxiety, school refusal, and depression. The combined total number of students that we serve currently, including the related service only, the 504 plan students out of district and in district, is 3,390 students combined. Yes.
I apologize. Could you just take a moment? We have 740 out-of-district placement students.
Right.
Could you just take a moment and explain to the community some of those programs?
Oh, yes. So we have students that attend Eastern Suffolk BOCES programs. Those programs typically deal with students. They could be anywhere. They can have autism spectrum disorder. They can have behavioral problems. They can have therapeutic needs. So we have students that we service there. We also have students in our state-supported programs. Those are students that typically suffer from blindness or hearing loss. We have students that attend private programs. Those students usually go to DDI, Developmental Disabilities Institute, AHRC, Association for the Help of Retarded. I don't like to use those terms, but that's the name of the private placement that we have. We have kids in residential settings. We have kids that attend residential settings in states, Virginia, Massachusetts. We have kids all over, but we're still responsible to service them.
About how many out-of-district placements do we have?
We have 740.
No, not students, actual facilities.
Off the top of my head,
Is it in the 50s? Is it that high?
I don't know off the top of my
Okay.
head, but it's probably around 50.
I thought it was
If
just
not
50.
more, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So if you look at the enrollment data, December, I believe it's the first Wednesday in December, we do a Beds Day. And basically that's when we report our enrollment numbers to the state. So if you look at our enrollment numbers over 10 years, you'll see a 25% increase in enrollment. There's 567 more students today than we had 10 years ago. All right, so the next slide is a 3-year comparison of CSE meetings for school-age students. The number of meetings decreased after the pandemic and new referrals and manifestation determination meetings. Manifestation determinations are meetings that we're required to have when a student is suspended from school for 10 days or more. And the purpose of that meeting is to identify if there's a relationship between the incident that occurred that the student was suspended for and their disability. So obviously during the pandemic, when we were on remote instruction, kids weren't in school, so we had less suspensions. So those numbers went down considerably. And the program reviews went down as well due to us not being in school full-time. The number of meetings decreased by 11% prior to the pandemic. We are starting to see those numbers increase this year due to the return of in-person instruction. Okay, so this is a 3-year comparison of the number of CPSE meetings. So CPSE is actually the CSE meetings for preschool students. There's been a 41% decrease over 3 years and a 28% decrease in CPSE meetings from 1920 to 2021. This is due to the significant decrease in preschool enrollment. And I think it's really impacting us considerably because many of the kindergartners that are coming in now are coming in with significant delays because they had no preschool experience. In fact, we are servicing approximately 50 kindergartners that are not classified as students with disabilities yet as at-risk services because we're trying to see if we can mitigate that to keep our numbers down with classifying students. We don't want to overclassify. We want to give the students time to see if they'll acquire language appropriately. All meetings combined, and that's the school age and preschool, are decreased by 8% last year and 16% over 3 years. I imagine the numbers will increase this year, again, due to in-person instruction. But they'll be slightly lower because of the lack in preschool enrollment. We continue to work hard to improve our programs. We have proven results. Last year, I actually proposed adding 2 new level E classes over at one of the elementary schools. We picked Hemlock Park. The program runs the same as any other classroom at the Hemlock Park program, except that we hired 2 teachers with experience with the autism population. We offer speech consult, autism services, school-based parent training, OT, PT services as needed. We purchased the Edmark reading program and supplemental materials based on the student's IEP. We plan to incorporate a sensory room to better support our students in that program this summer. Last year, when the addition of these 2 classes was presented, I anticipated that the savings would be $839,498.92 immediate savings and $145,233 $145,233.26 after STAC reimbursement. So STAC stands for System to Track and Account for Children. And what that is that's our state aid reimbursement. So because these students are high cost, we're able to, after we meet our threshold, which is approximately $43,000, well, it's $43,128, you can see it on the slide. After we meet our threshold, and that, is subtracted from the cost per student, the aidable excess cost is probably about 80%, it's 0.835. So that's what we get back. But we get that money back approximately a year later. If we sent the students to BOCES, we would have had to lay out $1,749,979.20. By keeping the students in district, we paid $475,380.48. That is a 73% decrease in the cost of the program. After the state reimbursement, the cost would have been $864,936.65 if we sent them to BOCES. It was a straight $475,380 and change because we kept them in district, and because the amount per student is lower than the threshold, we saved $389,556 by keeping the kids in the in-district program after reimbursement. Was that understandable? Or did I? Okay, I hope everyone understands.
So how many students, how many students are we talking about here?
16 students.
Oh.
Okay,
Over 2 classrooms.
Yes.
Classroom,
Yeah.
16 students.
yes.
And the students are able to get all of the services in district that they would have received?
They are. We ran into some bumps and grooves in the beginning because of the lack of support staff in regards to TAs. However, we contracted with an outside agency to bring those people in. So we brought in ABA, behavior trained, applied behavior trained TAs to work with those students. Okay? And this is just an illustration, the immediate savings, and the lower graph illustrates the savings after we receive the stack reimbursement. And like I said, we get that approximately 1 year after the delivery of services. Next slide. Last year, we expanded our extended school year program. The graph is a cost comparison of the Brentwood summer program and the Eastern Suffolk BOCES summer program, where our students previously attended. In the summer of 2021, we had 227 students attend our extended school year program at a cost of $210,487 and change. The cost of those students would have been $511,771 and change in the Eastern Suffolk BOCES program. We decreased costs by 59% and provided a great program in district for our students. We increased administrative staff at special services. In 2010, 2011, we had 6 administrators at special services. That number decreased to 5. We moved, which was a 17% decrease. This year, we increased that number to 7, which is a 40% increase in administrative staff. And that's staff that works on the IEPs for CSC meetings and that sort of thing. The 2 other administrators are over, health services. If you look at the total number of teachers on special assignments that assist with CSC meetings, we used to have 9 in 2010, 2011. That number was decreased to 7 in 2021. That was a 22% decrease, and we stayed steady, but by increasing the administrative staff, we're able to kind of, get a lot more done. So I thank you all for that. Next slide. So I spoke with Superintendent Lochner and the BTA President, Kevin Coyne, And we really sat down and we discussed a way to increase instructional time by changing the way we handle business in regards to utilizing our staff for CSE meetings. So we had a limited number of chair people in the district. Chair people expressed an inability to continue to volunteer to chair CSE meetings due to the increase in caseloads and their responsibility to deliver mandated services. Chair people were overwhelmed. Retirees are often limited in their availability to sit as members. They're going on vacations, so sometimes you can't really depend on retirees. The meetings have to happen. Teachers and psychologists were also struggling to deliver mandated services because of an increased need to sit committees as CSE members. Chairing a CSE meeting requires a significant amount of paperwork and follow-up. The number of psychologists in the district had decreased, resulting in an increase in caseloads and evaluation assignments. Our department worked with, like I said, the superintendent, BTA, the Board of Ed to hire teachers on special assignment to chair CSE meetings. We were able to increase instructional time and service time tremendously. When we added all the days combined for psychologists that used to chair, it was 181 days. So we were able to increase that much time in the classroom or in the school buildings working with kids. We have so many new and exciting initiatives in our department. We streamlined the new referral process by incorporating a new digital form for new referrals and the Blue Ink digital signature database. So now we're able to send forms to parents and they could sign using their phone, just right on their phone. We brought back the district CPSE evaluations, which was, oh my God, it was such a great thing because now it's very hard to get those students evaluated because of the lack of staff statewide doing those type of evaluations. So I was glad that we brought it back. We provided at-risk services in speech and counseling prior to a new referral. So that's prior to a student getting classified. We established a CPAC to facilitate parent input in departmental goals and initiative. A CPAC is a Special Education Parent Advisory Council. We are building a video parent resource library on the district website that will be released probably next week. Tomorrow we're actually presenting awards to some of the students that participated in a video competition at the high school in Sonderling at like 2 o'clock in the senior cafeteria. So a couple of our students participated and created videos to help support parents in dealing with students with ADHD. Many of the students were brave and they shared their own experiences. We also found videos that staff actually volunteered to give videos, and we found videos on YouTube that offer parent support that are dealing with certain topics or issues with their own kids. We incorporated 4 ADL kitchens into our middle schools and the freshman center. We also will be renovating the ADL kitchens at Southwest Elementary and incorporating an ADL kitchen at Oak Park Elementary in the near future. We will be exploring curriculum for our ADL classes K through 12 this summer. We expanded the extended school year program, like I mentioned before. That program now includes students in grades 1 through 8 and serviced, as I said, a total of 227 students with disabilities this past summer. We completed several office renovations at special services. We will be implementing new inclusive playgrounds with sensory activities. And I found out from Ms. O'Connor, those inclusive playgrounds will be in every elementary school throughout the district. Everyone.
No, not middle school. They get ninja playgrounds, the ninja
Who's
courses,
gonna get a ninja playground
and the freshman
And the
center.
freshman
yes.
center.
and the freshman center?
The elementaries get a playground.
But Oak Park and Southwest are getting two jazzed up ones though.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. I'm going to show the renderings.
I
can't wait to show off.
Ms. O'Connor, do you have the timeline for those installations?
As soon as the snow melts and the ground's ready, we're gonna start on the ninja
What is Oak
playground.
Park in Southwest getting?
A little bit bigger
Yeah.
playground.
They're getting inclusive playgrounds with wheelchair ramps for
Right.
kids with disabilities so that they can all participate and play
Why the
together.
other schools can't get them?
They're getting them.
Everybody's gonna have a wheelchair ramp
Oh.
Yeah.
to the playground.
Okay.
But yeah, as soon as the snow melts and the ground's ready, we'll start at the ninja playground at North Middle.
Okay, great, thank you.
Okay. We increased our PPS staff and administrative team to improve district operations. We are rolling out training in specially designed instruction to special education teachers, principals, and we will also give an overview to all staff. We provided crisis prevention and intervention, working with Mr. Carlin and Stacy O'Connor to we provided CPI training, and, Sean Coffin, we provided CPI training to bus monitors, which is crisis prevention and intervention training. A day of celebration. So here are a few pictures of our ribbon cutting to celebrate the opening of the ADL kitchens. The skills program was established to meet the needs of students who have severely delayed learning rates. These students meet the criteria for participating in the New York State Alternate Assessment Program. Program participants typically require ongoing support in more than one major life activity in order to participate in integrated school, home, and community settings. We all came together. We had special guests. We had legislators Sammy Gonzalez, Town Supervisor Angie Carpenter, Bruce Fabrizio from the Chamber of Commerce. We had our Board of Education, Superintendent, the Cabinet, and most of all, we had the kids and the principals. So and the teachers, we all came together. The kids were very excited. Next slide. As you can see, we passed the kids. Okay. So that's the kids. And, I think they were very excited and they're having fun cooking and enjoying the kitchens. Okay, you can keep going. That's where I'm at. The inclusive playgrounds, this is a rendering of the inclusive playground at Oak Park Elementary. So that's what it's going to look like, and there's the swing. So all those old rusty swings are being ripped out, and these are the swings that are coming in there. So we're very excited about that. The next slide is a rendering of Southwest Elementary. Okay, so I was very involved in picking, the stuff, so I only have the renderings for these two playgrounds, but I'm sure Ms. O'Connor has the others.
And just to clarify, the surface area these playgrounds are put on, that's the rubber, those are the rubberized mats?
Yes, it's gonna be phenomenal.
Beautiful.
And
We're
this,
also- right.
I was gonna say the superintendent wouldn't settle for anything less.
It's gotta be, we're also, one of the things I don't like about playgrounds that typically are installed is that they're not in a defined area. So what we're going to do is put fencing around them, nice, beautiful, fence with hardscape, whether it's cement or asphalt leading up to it. I don't like, when you go to a schoolyard and you just see kind of in the middle of nowhere, you see a playground,
Yeah.
which is nice. But I really do want to kind of define it. We all want to kind of define it and make it, especially special for
Very
the
nice.
community.
All right. We're getting the job done, and I put that picture up there. My staff, courtesy of my staff, they brought me the hard hat, and it says, Miss Young, Hills and a Hammer. And I literally had a hammer. I was in there taking out stuff. So we're getting the job done.
Yes, you are.
Listen, I think there's a trademark in there somewhere, all right?
Is that funny or what? So the next slide shows all the wonderful renovations that are happening at Special Services. We just finished getting the siding put on. I have bigger plans for this building, so this is just a little bit. This is right outside of my office area, before and after, so that's like the reception area when you come into my office. Look at the walls, look
I
at
remember.
the carpet, it was like 30 years old, and, you
Yes.
know,
I
the
think
work
older than
that
a lot older than that.
the B&G guys did is just phenomenal. They did a phenomenal job, and, you know,
Yes,
I
they
have to
did.
give credit for that. Next slide. This is the same area, but it's from a different vantage point. That same room, a different area, and like I said, look, the paneling, look at the differences.
Wow.
Forget about it. The next slide. These are actually two offices. They're the two offices that my assistant coordinators are in. The next slide shows the after.
Wow.
Okay? We go to the next slide. This is my office, so that's a before and after of my office, and I just want to put a disclaimer out there. I paid for the decorations, okay? I didn't use district funds for the decorations, okay? It was out of pocket. Next slide.
You would never do that.
If you look, we knocked out everything and started over there. So we're not finished, but we just finished kind of one area of the hallway. This is the opposite side of the hallway from my office. We actually knocked out, I guess it was the old CSC room, and we knocked out the old clear track area where the secretaries used to sit all together, and there used to be file cabinets in that room. And we actually brought the nurse practitioner and medical director and Sean Coffin over to that side of the building from the trailer. I aim to get rid of that trailer. So I brought them over. I'm trying to clear it out and bring them into the building. So these are their offices. I believe that's Mr. Coffin's office, and that's his secretary's space outside of his office. Next slide, please. And so at the left, we have the medical director's office. We have the nurse practitioner's office, and we have Dr. Garvin Romaine's office. We also redid the break room for the staff. We have a lot of staff in there, and we think that they need a nice place to go to and have their lunch. And so we redid it, and again, I'm going to put out a disclaimer. I paid for the decorations in there as well. Next slide. And I'm saying it because I want people to know that I am fiscally responsible, and I do like nice things, but I'm willing to take the money out my pocket to get it.
So you know what, can I just jump in here? And I know that that anybody tuning in to this part of your presentation right now without hearing all the background is going to say, boy, seems like you spent a lot of money
Yeah.
in interior decorating and renovations. And, you know, and I just want to say that part of what we're doing is, you know, our revamping and rehabbing spaces that haven't been touched for decades. And, you know, we are looking to, as I have said, this board is committed to using this money wisely, and we are trying to make sure that this district is, you know, set for decades to come. So these are investments that we're doing now that will continue to pay off for years to come. You know, we're also addressing a lot of, you know, safety issues that we had within buildings, accessibility, air quality. All those things are wrapped up in these renovations. So this is just a fraction of the kind of renovations that we're doing. But please know that, you know, that we have all of the academics, you know, covered also. So we're doing the infrastructure, the capital improvements, but we've already identified, and we will continue to identify all of the academic components that we are bringing to this district also. Mr. Lochner, if you can,
No, that's absolutely correct. I mean, obviously, we're talking about we're speaking about one building here. And it also should be noted that I think 90% or maybe 100% of the work has been done by our crew. We have fantastic carpenters, electricians, so they're doing it here. So it looks like a lot of work, and I'm very, happy that when Ms. Young came in and she did that, because as you mentioned, Mr. Feliciano, there were a lot of safety concerns in that building long before Rhonda got there, and I really am so pleased that she addressed those issues, because there was air quality, there was safety, and you know what I like too is we have lots of community members who come in there every single day. And it's, they want to be in a room, they want to be in a building that they can be proud of. And I'm really glad that when a community member comes in, they see a beautiful building that's clean, that's neat, that's organized, and I think that really settles them when they then have a meeting, and it's, generally about their child. And I think that's important that they have that positive environment, and that's what they have there.
I mean, it was a dark place before.
It was
as soon as
very-
you walk in, you're like, wow.
It was a dark dungeon type of place, and file cabinets everywhere, and there really wasn't a lot of thought about where to put offices and equipment, and I think Rhonda and her staff have done a tremendous job.
And now that we're doing paperless, we have more room.
Exactly.
We don't have file cabinets. in there.
Exactly.
I have to say that most of what we saw was there since the 1970s.
Yeah, it's not
So that's
30
almost
years.
50 years ago.
More like
Okay.
50, not
Yeah.
30.
tell the truth. But you know what, I have to say that none of these improvements, they couldn't possibly happen if it wasn't the help of the Board of Education, the Superintendent, Ms. O'Connor, the B&G staff, my cabinet, everyone supports us, and we appreciate the support that we're getting. And I think many of us felt unsupported for a long time, so it's a good feeling to be supported in that
yeah, and
area.
that morale, I mean, because
Yes.
you're talking about the morale in the department
Yes.
is so critically important to a successful team.
Yes.
And I want to say that, that I think that's something that this Board of Education, along with the superintendent, we've been messaging that since day one.
Yeah.
Trying to turn that morale around. We walked into not such a great situation, and I believe now, looking back, it's just the difference between night and day. So you did a wonderful job in terms of bringing that to fruition in terms of that department. So thank you for that.
Thank you, but we did a wonderful job. We're a
Yes.
team, So now we're going to go over the budget. So this is a huge budget. It's big. So I'll start with page 1. A2250-1500 to A2250-1500-32 is special education teacher salaries by building. Those numbers have been pretty stable. You'll see, some decreases and increases due to building transfers and contractual increases. So some staff may transfer, maybe I'll move 2 teachers over at a high salary into a building, but we haven't had too many hires in that area. A2250-1503 is our program handicap CSE summer. CSE meetings happen all year round, so that, they get paid over the summer, and that's their salary. A2250-1600 is program handicap non-instructional salary. That's our clerical. And A2250-1900 program handicap CSE health aides one-to-one subs. So that's the one-to-one aides that work individually with the students, and that's the subs. A2250-1900-01 to A2250-1900-32 is our one-to-one health aides by building. A22501910 to A22501910-32 are the extra hours outside of the contractual hours for our health aides, the one-to-ones. A22501920 is our program handicap CSC TA subs. A22501920-01 to A22501920-32 is our TAs by building. A221925-01 to A221925-32 is our extra hours that are TAs outside of that contractual time. A22504000 is program handicap contractual. We propose that we're going to use 10,000, but we haven't really used it. But we may, because we've been doing a lot of contracts for TAs and that sort of thing, so we may have to use that money. A22504011 1200 program handicap contractual. We haven't used it, so we didn't put the money in there. A22504400 is McKinney-Vento. That will be reported by the registration department. A22504455, we put that money aside every year just in case of an impartial hearing. We haven't had any, thankfully. A22504460 is our program handicap professional consults. So we do hire consultants that come in and work with our students. A22504465 is our program handicap physical therapist and occupational therapist. A22504466 is our program handicap physical therapy. A22504600 is our CEO program. So many of our ungraded students at the high school participate in the career exploration program over there, and they learn soft skills so that they could be successful in the workplace after school. A22504720 is our program handicap tuition. And that is our private schools like the DDI program. A22504720 is our, 4780 is our Sprint and FedEx. And like I said, all of these numbers that I'm saying have been pretty stable. Like I said, McKinney-Vento doesn't really apply to us anymore. A22504800 is our program handicap textbooks. A22504802 other handicap. That's another material code. A22504900. There is a big increase there, 14.75%, and that is our high-cost BOCES students. So those are the kids that attend BOCES. What's good about it is a great deal of that money is reimbursable through STAC reimbursement. It just takes a year or so to get that money back, but it's always money rolling in STAC reimbursement from the year before.
So, can I ask you, what do you attribute that increase to? Can you clarify that again?
Yeah, I'll go over it again
Okay.
throughout the presentation, but there is an increase in students enrolling in the district with significant needs. Many of those students come into the district already attending a BOCES program from another district. When they come in, we follow the IEP, and they still, continue to go to those programs. Another issue that we have is our high school program is very big. We have kids that suffer from school anxiety, phobia, that have therapeutic needs, and we don't have a small area to really work with those kids. We don't have a really robust behavioral program in the high school for students that need that structure and support. The class sizes are just too big, the space is too big. I do think that we have to, if we want to get the numbers down, look at alternative programs for that particular population of kids. We do have kids with significant needs in our autism program that we don't have the capacity to meet their needs. Those kids will obviously go to a Brookhaven Learning Center or one of those programs because their needs are so significant. But there is a population of kids that I really believe that we can address their needs in district if we find a small space. And at a later time, I would like to present that to the board, after discussing, tying up. I already spoke about it with the superintendent, but we have to tie up loose ends first. And I believe that we'll move forward and do something soon.
What amount of the expenses are aidable from BOCES? Is it 75% or?
Well, there is a threshold number, so I'll give you an example. Most of the students that attend our therapeutic program at Sequoia, one student costs about $80,000. And that's just getting the counseling. They get counseling, and that's it. They get counseling, and then they're in an 811, class setting. If you add a one-to-one aid to one of those students, that number goes up to $136,000. For that one student, you would subtract $43,000 from that cost, right? And that's the threshold. And then anything after you meet your threshold, you get about an 80% reimbursement. But it takes a year to get that money.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay?
And the 43 represents the base that the district would be liable for anyway. I'm assuming, what does the 43,000 represent?
That's just the threshold that the state sets. So they say, well, after you, and Stacy, can you speak a little bit to that?
Yeah, the calculation is actually 3 times our approved operating expenditures, at 3 times AOE. And they look at what it takes to educate all children. Gen ed, special ed, and then they multiply that by 3, and then that's what the special ed threshold is.
Okay.
So it's different for each district.
So is there, are any of these services Medicaid, reimbursable?
Yes, we'll speak about that
Yep,
as I move
she's getting
through.
there.
I'm getting there.
Let's finish that example. I think if we could finish that example, if it's $136,000, $43,000 is the threshold. So you're not going to be aided on that $43,000. So you'd subtract that from the 136, and that would be what, 90?
Well, then
Or below 90s.
you would multiply it by, I think it's .83 something.
But only the .8 would get multiplied by the 92,000.
Yeah.
Or the 93,000, I should
Yeah.
say. 93,000, so it'll be .8 times the 93. So you've already paid the 43,000. So now it's .8 times the 93, and then you'd have, probably in the 70s, you'd get reimbursed that.
Very good.
Right? Is that about right?
Yes, yes. All right, so I think I left off one, A225010, no, A22505000, which is our program handicap materials and supplies. A22505010 is our program handicap teaching aids. A22505020 is our program handicap workbooks, and those numbers have been pretty stable. A225030 is our program handicap arts and crafts, so we do contribute, and then when you go to A22505070 is music supplies, so we do contribute a part of our general funds budget to the art music department, and also the PE department. If you look at the next 2 budget codes, A22505070 and A22505100 is phys ed. A22505110 is our program handicap supplemental books. That's the same. A22505210, we contribute towards the library books. So under area 2250, our total budget is $57,377,006. Okay, which is a 10.5% increase. A2251-1600 is our Medicaid clerical. A2251 is the overtime for that Medicaid clerical. So for Medicaid, which is 2251, our projected budget is $82,014, which is a 2.84% increase, which is just a contractual increase in salary. A2255-1500 to A2255-1500-32 is our resource room teachers by building. A2255-4461 is our learning disabled purchase services. That number is actually wrong. It should be $58,883. And that number decreased substantially because we have been using our own staff to accommodate the needs at like MDQ. Okay. A2255-47-10 is our parentally placed students. Those are the students that attend private school. Ironically, during the pandemic, less parents sent their students to private school because we were on remote instruction, so that number decreased substantially also. A2255-4760 is our learning disabled staff travel, so that's when resource room teachers travel from building to building. They're entitled to mileage reimbursement. A2255-4800 is our learning disabled textbooks. It's pretty much, we didn't put anything in there because I believe that's centralized. A2255-4802 is other materials. We didn't put anything in there. A2255-5000, we actually took out because I probably didn't use it because I roll a lot into teaching aids, and that's where the money is. A2255-5010 teaching aids, that stayed the same, and that's kind of where I use the money because it's easier to spend, on different things in that area. I'm going to move to the next page. A2255-5020 is the learning disabled workbooks. We centralized that budget. A2255-5100, learning disabled phys ed supplies. Like I said, we contribute to the phys ed department. A2255-5110, learning disabled supplemental books. We didn't use that. A2255-5210, we contributed toward the library books. And the 2255 area, our projected budget is $4,371,288 because I added that $3,000 into that number. Okay. If we go down and we look at speech teachers, A2260-1500 to A2260-1500-32 is speech teachers by building. It's been pretty much the same. We had to, some building transfers, contractual salary increases. If you go to A2260-1502, speech instructional salary summer. That's because we use speech teachers in the summer to service students. A2260-1600 is speech non-instructional salary. That is a clerical in the speech department. A2260-1601 is the overtime for that speech clerical. A2260-2000 is speech equipment. That stayed the same. A2260-4005 is a speech outside specialist. Those are contracted services. A2260-4461 is speech purchase services, and that stayed relatively the same. A2260-4651 is speech equipment maintenance, and that's the same. A2260-4700 is speech public tuition. We did not use that, but we added $25,000 just in case this year. A2260-4760 is the speech travel, and that is, again, for speech teachers that are split between buildings. They're entitled to mileage reimbursement. A2260-5000 is speech materials and supplies. Total budget proposed in area 2260, which is speech services, is $4,050,552, which is a 22.33% increase. Moving right along. A2815-1500 is our administrators in the health department. That is our medical director and our nurse practitioner. They also work over the summer, so A2815-1502 is their summer salary. A2815-1600 to A2815-1600-32 is our nurses by building. A2815-1900 are our health monitors. Those are the health aides that work, the health monitors that work in the nurse's office, and they help out with triage, and they help, service students and assist the nurse. So that's a different category than the health aides listed earlier. The ones listed earlier work one-to-one with students. So A2815-1900 1 to A2815-1900-32 are those school health monitors by building. Okay. A2815-1910 to A2815-1910-32 are the extra hours for those health monitors. A2815-4000 is our health services contractual. That number decreased. We used to pay a doctor to do some of the evaluations now that our our medical director is able to do, so we were able to save in that area. A2815-4490 is health services from other districts. That's when our kids attend other districts and they're provided with health services. We have to give money to those districts for providing the service to in-district students. A2815-4651 is health equipment maintenance, and that stayed relatively the same. A2815-4760 is health travel, and that's when the nurses travel from building to building. A2815-4900 is health services from BOCES. That stayed the same. A2815-1500 is health materials and supplies. That went up, obviously, due to the pandemic. We are buying a lot of supplies to cover costs with masks and gloves and hand sanitizer and all those things. A2815-5040 is health computer supplies. The total in our health services budget, 2815, proposed is $3,100,667. That is a 2.86% increase. If we go to A2820-1500 to 1500-32, that is our psychologist by building. That's remained pretty much stable, with some building changes, and contractual increases. A2820, 1600 is our non-instructional salary. That is the clerical over the psych services department. A2820, 1601 is the overtime to that clerical. A2820, 2000 is the psych services equipment. A28 204760 is psych service travel. That's when psychologists travel from building to building, mileage reimbursement. A2820, 5000 is psych services, materials and supplies. That stayed relatively the same. 2820 area, we project the budget to be $2,739,601, which is a 19.66% increase. A2825, 1500 is our social workers. So if we go A2825, 1501 to A2825, 1500-32, that is our social workers by building. A2825, 1502 is the social worker salary for summer work. A2825, 4760 is social work travel, when they go to different buildings. A2825, 5000 is the social work materials and supplies. The total budget projected for area 2825, which is social work, is $1,086,062. Our projected budget is $72,804,190. Next slide. So if we look at our BOCES budget, we see that it increased significantly, like I said, due to the number of intakes, new referrals, and that sort of thing. And we're looking at ways to get that number down. But if you look also, you'll see that there were things that decreased. And like I spoke about the parents, the students that are parentally placed attending private schools, less parents sent their kids to private schools, so that number came down significantly. And the fact that we're pushing our own staff into MDQ to provide services, we were able to save in that area as well. The amount that we get reimbursed from Medicaid has increased significantly. Although we get reimbursed, we still have to pay a share of what we get back to the state. That amount used to be 50%. However, it may be somewhere between 35 and 40%. So that actually, I double checked in the system. So that is actually what we are getting. We didn't get it all back yet because it trickles in. The money follows after, the year after. And I spoke to Michelle Mee, and she said that, it takes time for the money to kind of catch up. But they base their numbers off of the checks that they get in reimbursement. My numbers are based off of what we're actually getting according to the Medicaid system. Okay? OT, PT, some social work services, some psych services. Psychologists have to have a special license for us to get full, be able to get reimbursement for the counseling services. Some of our psychologists have it, but very few do.
And if the child has private insurance, are you able to bill for them?
Yeah, we don't bill private, just Medicaid, for reimbursement. Next slide. Okay, so we get money in two large grants annually. The 611 grant, and that's really, that's all the kids, 3 through 21. And we got this year $5,201,847. The 619 grant is for preschool and kindergartners. we got $283,360. And this year, we got something called the American Rescue money. We got, for the 6/11, $1,126,566. We haven't spent that yet. I have 3 years to use that money. We also got, in the 619 grant, $125,478. Next slide. So I spoke about the system to track and account for children, which is our state reimbursement. And as you can see, from the year of 1920, we got back $2,109,672 from our state-supported 10-month schools. We got back $13,788,814 and change from our high-cost public, which is BOCES. We got from the summer of 2020, and that's when we only had, I believe, like 80 kids in the program, at the summer extended school year program, we got back $1,725,022. Our private school programs, that's our private handicap programs, we got back $1,830,090 and change.
Rhonda, could you just explain to the community where that money goes when we get it reimbursed?
Well, it goes back into the general funds budget, and it helps offset the cost of salaries, and it balances out the numbers in the district.
So can I ask you a question? So what you have proposed in your budget, a large part of it is for the BOCES program that you said new kids are coming in. Does that account for what aidable money you're going to get back or no?
No, we always get aidable money, so every year this money is coming in, right? We're getting money from last year, this year, so we always get aidable money. We don't really count it, but it comes in and it offsets the district expenditures. Is that the correct answer, Ms. O'Connor?
Yeah, I was just going to add that when we get our state aid run, like we just got the governor's budget, and if you look at the different categories on that run, you'll see these aids coming back to us.
Okay.
So, I know that, that's great news. Has anybody ever done the comparison as to the additional expense versus the aid? Have you done the cost difference?
Well, if you look at the formula that Ms. Young presented tonight, she did exactly that on the 16 kids that we brought back. So there's a lot of reports that we have to file with the state. We do that over the summer. You have a tremendous amount in your area. We have a tremendous amount in the business office. And that's where that comparison is actually done. And that's how those are the numbers that the state uses to determine what our rate is.
Yeah. So, and so I'm just going to just follow that train of thought. And, so the budget is, it's a huge increase of, over $7 million. And the reason why I was mentioning it is because, we do have some offset money, and I wanted to make sure, or I wanted to know if that is offset in the budget.
No, that's what I'm asking.
Well, those are the full expenditures that you see in the budget.
Yeah.
That is not after aid. That's before getting any aid.
Right.
So it's not going to be actually that $7 million increase, it's actually less with the 8 that we're probably going to receive back.
Correct, but like Ms. Young said, it just takes a year to come back, but we do get aid on that. Yes,
That's
we
part
do.
of our revenue,
Oh.
the aid back, but no, this is the actual money that we'll be spending
Yep.
out, if we spend it all.
Yep.
That will be the money going out, and then on the revenue side, you have revenue coming in.
Thank you.
Next slide, please. We also get money back in CPSE administrative costs. So we have to do the preschool CSE meetings. So we are able to get money back for what it costs. We get a percentage back of what it costs to run those meetings. So over 3 years, well, I'm a little out of order. We started doing the evaluations. So the CPSE evaluations, we're able to bill the county for reimbursement for those evaluations. We limited the number of evaluations that we're providing this year because we don't have the capacity. So that's one of my asks at the end of this presentation, is that we have staff available to do these evaluations because there is a need. but we've been limiting it. But we actually are an approved evaluation site. So we can do evaluations for other school districts. A lot of people aren't, and bill the county for reimbursement for those evaluations. And that would help us offset the cost of the staff, that we use, that we hire. If you look over 3 years, that's what we've gotten back from the county. So we get approximately, I'd say like 347 to $362,000 back from the county annually. That number is going to increase. I'm pretty positive it's going to increase next year because, I'm learning all of this stuff. So when I went in and I looked at, the numbers, because you have to get this money back, you have to add up costs, like how much do you use for the paper, for the CSE meetings. And I noticed that the cost for the materials was like from 10 years ago. So I think we're going to get more money back. I do. The cost of paper and everything, so I changed all those numbers. So I think that, we'll get money back. We turn to the next slide. The impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on students is just, it's huge. It's incredible, the impact that this thing had on our students. iReady, Understanding Students' Learning Insights from the fall of 2021, conducted research using the iReady program, and what they found was the percentage of students reading below grade level in the early grades has increased since the pandemic. The percentage of students in math performing on grade level is lower in nearly all grades. The decrease in student performance were higher for Black and Latino students in reading and math than for white students. There were fewer students attending schools in lower income neighborhoods performing on grade level than students attending schools in higher income neighborhoods. More students were below grade level in early grades for reading across all grades. Compared to last fall, the percentage of students on grade level or below grade level varied depending on the grade level and subject. There are many observable needs that we're seeing here in Brentwood, and, I'm on meetings with other assistant superintendents and directors of special education, and they're seeing the same things too. Students are entering school with significant speech delays. Student absenteeism has increased. There is a shortage of staff to address students' needs, and that's the TAs. Many students are entering without being toilet trained and require additional staff to address physical needs. We are seeing learning delays across all areas, especially at the elementary level. And I'm telling you, the fact that our kids are not enrolling in preschool programs contribute to that a great deal. Our students need support. The grief, anxiety, and depression children experienced during the pandemic is swelling over into the classrooms and hallways, resulting in crying, disruptive behavior, increased violence, bullying among adolescents. According to the Federal Center for Disease Control and Prevention, emergency department visits for suspected suicide attempts among adolescents jumped 31% in 2020 compared with 2019. In February and March of this year, emergency department visits for suspected suicide attempts were 51% higher among girls ages 12 through 17 than during the same period in 2019. In October 2021, the American Academy of Pediatrics, the American Academy of Child and Adolescent Psychiatry, and the Children's Hospital Association declared that the pandemic-related decline in child and adolescent mental health has become a national emergency. School psychologists, they report an increase in the number of requests to provide students with mental health and emotional health supports. Student behavior referrals are up. Administrators report an increase in verbal and physical altercations. Parents are struggling with maladaptive behaviors at home. Across the country, schools are reporting an uptick in disruptive behavior. The distribution of student-owned laptops have led to an increase in red flag notifications of students presenting with suicide ideations. So basically what that means is we issued these laptops to kids. The laptops are monitored. If a kid Googles anything about I want to kill myself, anything like that, we get a red flag notification and we're responsible to act. Trust me, I get those calls on my vacation. Yeah, so it's a problem. If you turn to the next slide, the National Association of School Psychology recommends one professional for every 500 students, but the only state in the nation that has that is Maine. The average in New York State is 643. Okay? So, and that's according to the Department of Education 2020. Now, our current enrollment is 18,059 students. That number may have increased from the day when I created this slide. If we have 18 psychologists, I'm sorry, I'm wrong. So at the elementary schools, we have 11 buildings. We have 7,890 students. We have 11 psychologists and 6.2 FTE social workers. That means that we have a social worker 1 day a week that floats into the building. 0.2 would be 1 day. 0.4 would be 2 days, just so you know. Middle school, we have 4 middle schools. We have 4,711 students. We have 4 psychologists and 2.8 FTE social workers. At the freshman center, we have 1,304 students. We have 1 psychologist and 1 social worker. At the high school, we have 4,371 students, 3 psychologists, 4.60 FTE social workers. At registration, we have 1 psychologist that helps with the intakes as students come in. They require a lot of work. You have to do a lot of footwork when a kid comes in with an IEP. So we definitely need a psychologist in that area, and they also do the evaluation process for intake. We have 1 social worker also that helps out in that area. Special services, we have 4, because we have 1 that helps with, well, we have like 2 that help with evaluations. When you look at FTE, they're not stationed there, but it's 2 FTEs when you combine the total, use of those psychologists by our building for evaluations. Okay? If you look at the next slide, the focus is on elementary buildings. So at Hemlock Park, we have 620 students. 115 of those students are students with disabilities, which is a 19% rate of students classified in that building. We have 2 administrators, and we have 1.6 psychologists, and we have a 0.4 social worker. So we have a social worker there 2 days. At Laurel Park, we have 641 students. We have 162 students with disabilities, which is a 25%, a student with disability population. At Laurel Park, there's also a behavior program in that building, and we only have 1 administrator in that building and 1 psychologist, and a 0.4 social worker. So, I mean, I really think that building needs support, but that's a different presentation. Loretta has 654 students enrolled. 49 are students with disabilities. It's a 7% rate there. You have 2 administrators. You have 1 psychologist, 0.4 social workers. And the list goes on and on. I just really wanted you to see Laurel Park, because out of all the buildings, although we have significant needs in some of our elementary buildings, Laurel Park really needs help because it's a 25% special ed population, and many of the students in that building exhibit behaviors. When you look at the elementary alone, we have one building administrator serving 441 students. We have, that's the ratio. We have one psychologist to 749 students, and we have one social worker to 1,280 students. I think that we've done a remarkable job by increasing the staff, but I think that we need to do a little bit more, We need help. There's a lack of transition support for the high school graduates. Transition coordinators perform a variety of duties, if you turn to the next slide, by providing appropriate services to special education students, preparing them for life after graduation. I think our students need more help with making those connections. We do have Mark Ingram at the high school. However, he services the entire, high school. Many of our kids, unfortunately, are not going to college. They need to make these connections with, entrepreneurships. They need to make connections with community-based work opportunities. And we need a transition coordinator to do just that. There's so many kids that, a lot of the focus is on regents, passing the regents and meeting the graduation requirements, and many of our students do just that, but they have difficulty once they graduate with just working and getting a job and filling out a job application. And, part of that is because of the state requirements, but I do think it's time that we really, really put more focus on career readiness for our students. So that's one of my asks as well.
Specifically speaking about the DD population, you're talking in general.
I'm talking about our special class students that are at a higher level, our resource room students. Our resource students, many of them will have the college opportunity. Those are higher performing students, but some won't. And I don't think enough is happening with providing the resources necessary for them to make those connections. I really think we could do more in that area. Other school districts have transition coordinators that help make those linkages.
In their last year, there's not a meeting where there's transition services are spoken about this for that?
We do. We have a teacher on special assignment that works. She teaches classes and she does help, but we have an enormous ungraded population, and the needs to address that population are significant. So she has very limited time to address the needs of our total population. So I do think she's still needed for those kids because, you have to have certain papers filled out for them to transition to adult agencies. But I think that many of our students don't have the opportunity to go to BOCES, right? Because BOCES Tech is very difficult for our kids. We did open up spots for BOCES Special Career for some of our kids, but not a lot of our kids need those opportunities. And I just don't think that we're meeting their needs in that area as good as we could be, Okay.
Do you have any data on the amount of students that are, I would say, falling through the cracks?
I kind of removed it off of these slides because we do have data, and it shows that we need to do more work in this area. I don't know how reliable the data is because the numbers are pulled during school closure, the pandemic. But it's on the state website. But I don't think that data is reliable because we did have a shutdown the year that they're pulling the data from. That was the 1920. So we did close, so I don't know how reliable that is. But I just know from being in the community and dealing with parents and having a child myself in the community, that more work needs to be done in that area. Where do we go from here? Okay. So, we brought many students back from our BOCES program, our autism kids that we found were able to be educated in an in-district program. Currently, we have students that are in West Middle School. We do not have a middle program for them to transition to. Kids in that autism program go straight to the high school from West Middle School. The age difference between the kids, it's an issue. You have 14-year-olds that are trickling up with 21-year-olds, because these kids could stay until they're 21, right? So we would like to add an additional class, and I think by adding that additional class, it will open up seats in that program as well for other kids that can come back and be educated at home in district. So that's one of the teachers that I'm asking for. For years, we offered a health class. Our teachers, special ed teachers, taught the health class to our students. That can no longer happen. You have to be a certified health teacher to teach health at the secondary level. So our kids at the high school need help to graduate, but they're having a difficult time with being able to access the curriculum in the gen ed setting in health. I'm really looking forward to hiring a dual certified health teacher to address that issue, where those kids can have someone certified in health and also certified in special ed. I think that that would be great, but if we can't find a person, I'm asking for two teachers to be consultant teachers. And we're actually required to have consultant teachers in the district. Consultant teachers are similar to resource room, but they actually push into the classroom, and then they work in small group with the students. So 3 days they may be pushing into the classroom, 2 days they're working in a small group with those students, going over skills and helping the teacher with modifying curriculum and providing supports so that students can be successful in the gen ed setting. Speech teachers, we're providing at-risk support for students because their language, they're just showing language needs. And I sense that if we don't provide at-risk services, our numbers are going to go skyrocket in special ed. And just to limit the number of students classified, I think that we should do this for a little while, provide the at-risk services. But in order to provide the at-risk services, we need an additional staff member that we can use and push in throughout the buildings to provide the at-risk services, because we simply don't have the capacity to provide mandated services and to provide at-risk services. Also, I'm going to, CPSC is a whole different world. So I'm going to put you on the spot, Kimberly Clark, because I know you're very capable, to just speak to, and if you could come up to the mic, some of the things that you're seeing in the preschool world in regards to the need for support for speech, for psychologists, and for social workers in that work.
Thank you for your seat, Monsieur.
Yes.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. So
Take off your mask if you're comfortable.
I'm so used to wearing it always. So in CPSC, we're seeing a great need for support in language. Our children that are coming to us via intake, consent and referrals, all of them are in need of speech. I would be safe in saying that 100% of our students who are currently receiving services and students that come in through intake need speech. They are severely delayed, many of them only because they have not had the exposure. We call them pandemic children because they've been on the couch, they've been in the house, they're on a lot of community opportunities, given the pandemic, for them to get out and socialize, to have that socialization be facilitated. We do not have in the CPSC right now anyone to provide consistent speech evaluations. So we often have to farm out, if you will. We have to reach out to agencies within the community that provide those evaluation services in order to be able to meet the mandates, as well as be able to determine if children are eligible to receive speech. So we are in need of a speech evaluator that would also be able to serve on our committee meetings, our CPSC meetings, because we also tend to be very short on committee members, and we have to pull from other places, in particular from CSE, in order to have support and have retirees to be able to support our committee meetings. With regard to OT and PT, we have, again, we send all of our evaluations out of district. We'd like to keep that money here, right? Because evaluations cost a lot of money. And so rather than pay others to do that, we would be, don't put me on the spot in terms of the cost savings, but I know that we would have a cost savings to be able to have our own OT and PT evaluators for CPSC. And then, of course, we'd be able to utilize them throughout the district as needed. But to have our own staff to do that would be a cost savings, as well as meet the need that the students are presenting with. It's due to a great deal because there's no exposure. Children are not able to use scissors in a classroom. They're not able to, manipulate blocks. And, they're in the house. They've been in the house. We're getting children, if you think about preschool, they're 2 years old, they're 3 years old, sometimes 4 years old. They've never been with another child. They've never been in front of any type of materials to manipulate. So that, coupled with the fact that they haven't had the exposure to be able to know how to navigate conversation or how to navigate problem solving amongst other peers, they are presenting with extensive behavioral needs. So whereas if they had that exposure, maybe they wouldn't come into the district with those needs. The needs are extensive. So, having our own staff to be able to determine exactly what those needs are would be huge for us, in terms of keeping the money in district as well as being able to meet the need of the students that are coming in.
Thank you. Do you have any questions for Kimberly?
No, I just, so as Ms. Clark was speaking, I was wondering if this was a temporary need or if this was a long-term need. I know that the pandemic really did a number on so many students and communities, but and the funny thing is I just don't know what the trend was before the pandemic. Do you have any information in regards to that?
Well, I can tell you that I come from the program side. I'm new to the district. I've been in 4410 programs for about 15 years. And in all types of programming as it relates to preschool. So I've operated UPK, I've operated Head Start programs, I've operated 4410 programs, and the trend is that the needs of students in general has increased. So I don't see it tapering off anytime soon. I think that we're seeing the severity of needs increase. Not necessarily the frequency, but the severity. So, in order to address that, you have to have credentialed staff to be able to appropriately address that. And with the staffing shortage elsewhere in terms of the agencies that we utilize at this time to be able to conduct the majority of those evaluations and to be able to assist in placing those children out of district if need be, there just are no staff persons to be able to provide that. There's no staff, there's no programming in terms of placement availability. It's just a shortage widespread. So, having our own in-district accessibility to those things would be helpful.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I also would like Garvin to come up. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, thank you.
Thank you, Kimberly.
Garvin, I would like you to just say a few words about the OT.
Sure.
matter.
Good evening, all. So we got pretty clever at special services. Instead of contracting out with these agencies, which is an exorbitant cost, we were able to cut down the cost by 50% by hiring our own staff. Particularly with the OT-PT staff, we had a direct link with the contract providers to report to us. And again, that was about a 50% savings to the district in the cost.
So you're asking for the
You're asking,
OT.
right.
That's why you're on. yes.
So I apologize.
Ms. Young wants you to go
the
further,
goal,
Garvin.
yes, absolutely. So the goal is to have, to hire our own contracted OT-PT providers. For one, make sure that we're in compliance. The quality provision of services are very key. But again, I think we could really do a cost savings. It is my mission and my goal to see that through with the OT-PT, the same way I did it for speech. We've maximized the Medicaid reimbursement, we provide quality services, and we hold the providers accountable for the services they provide. That's the goal.
Anybody have questions?
Well, I guess the goal is always, I remember my own child started early on in kindergarten or first grade, PT, and he had OT issues, but then now, once he went to the middle school, he's been working all along all those years that, he trickled out of the program, which was great, so that's what kind of.
Absolutely. So with the OT-PT, I'm confident we could provide quality of service. Again, just cut the agency rate, which is really costing the district a lot of money. So I'm very confident we could do that. So if the district was able to do that, I could demonstrate even more effectively why it's a cost-effective measure. To my knowledge, we spend about $1.3 million on average for OT-PT services. I'm doing that off the cuff. I don't, it's just a roundabout number. But again, if I could use some of those funds to train the OT-PT providers and then maximize their schedules, maximize Medicaid reimbursement, and see how we could do with that.
That's right.
Thank you.
All right.
All right, thanks, sir.
Right. And I think I explained the need for the psychologists and social workers. Does anyone have any questions for me?
Well, I have a question, like, how many more social workers do we need that each building will have one full-time?
Well, I believe if we hire the 4.
You mean, would you
Oh,
need
no,
more?
well, you will need more than that.
Because you still have school buildings that are large. You have someone to talk?
You want to come up?
Ms. Young, that was my question. I was interested in finding out who was cleanup. You had first at bat, second,
Right.
third. And Mr. Coffin, this is it?
Usually better for me. There's a number that we could live with that would increase the staff across the district and enable us to have full staff at the middle schools, for example. We probably, and I don't know if I should be lowballing it, but could get away with 2. But when we really are focused on qualitatively improving the level of mental health and wellness support we want to provide and, increasing social emotional learning, 4, it would be a much better number. But, Rich and I were joking a couple of years back after one of these meetings when we were, I believe, Robert, you asked, what's the ratio for social workers to students?
Yeah.
And I did a little research the next day, and I called Rich,
Right.
and I said, I think we needed to hire like 20 more to really be at that ratio that would be recommended by the National Association of Social Workers and, the state agencies. And of course, Rich belly laughed at that. But, I'm happy to be part of a district that has moved in the right direction over the last few years, and we have been able to bring staff back, and we are improving the services we can provide. But we're just scratching the surface. This year, with the additional psychologists and social workers that we were able to hire, we had a model in mind so that we can be more proactive, visible around the school buildings, going into classrooms, following through on more initiatives, And we've been able to, again, scratch the surface. But with the continued increased demands, especially with the, the preschool and the kindergarten students that are coming up, and some of the other, situations that we have to deal with at the middle and the high school, that model that we had put on paper has shifted a little bit. So my staff is now helping with the CPSC. So there's been shifts where people are not as in the places that we had hoped they'd be. So if we can get the additional staff, then we can satisfy middle schools. I'd like to have full-time social workers at all the middle schools. Right now, South Middle doesn't have one. West Middle doesn't have full-time. North Middle, we have a few social workers collaborating, so we are covered 5 days there. And East Middle. So I know if we got 2 more, I could reshuffle things where they would have full-time coverage.
I have a question for you. So who does the individual and group counseling for our guys if you have no social workers in those schools?
Well, that's where we are stretched thin, because our priority is the mandated services to individual and group counseling. So everyone has a caseload, unless you're in a special assignment, like if you're in registration, that social worker doesn't have a caseload. But everyone, their first priority is to the mandates for counseling, and also for the students that are newly referred, where we're having an initial evaluation. So there's a lot of work involved with that around social histories, initial evaluations, all the other pre-interventions that go into place to, meet these students on the gen ed side of things. So there's a lot of time and energy going into that. And, again, to the point of our plan this year is to be visible, proactive, meeting kids in the classroom, meeting teachers in the classrooms, and we have been able to accomplish that, but we want to do more of that. So
all of our students that are required to get those services are getting
Oh,
them?
absolutely. And there's a lot of non-mandated students in this current climate that also are being seen by our social workers and psychologists. Either, again, informally on a weekly basis or on an as-needed basis.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions, concerns?
I'm still at the 20 where Mr. Lotion did a belly laugh. What I need to know is 20 would be on our wish list, more or less? But how many is that what we actually need? 20 to really be in line with what they say that we should be in line as far as caseload is concerned?
Well, I think that we pretty much have a psychologist in every building. I'm correct, right?
Yeah, that number is grandiose.
Yes.
Yeah.
And no one in America has that kind of, I shouldn't say
Right.
no one, but that's, that's not happening.
Yeah.
But that's what the recommended ratios are, in a perfect scenario. So 4 social workers would help us to achieve,
Yeah.
a high level of qualitative.
That's more realistic for us.
That is.
Yeah.
And what we're trying to do is, some of these numbers that Sean was speaking about, like in our middle schools, we could have upwards of 3, social workers, which isn't realistic for us. We're trying to get to the 1 full-time social worker. Right now.
Middle school and then elementary school. So you gotta have to-
Right. And the board, has been committed to it over the last few years. The board has hired, obviously, the psychologist as needed, and we're almost where we should be there. And the social workers, if we get 4, that's what they're asking for, and I think that will give, coverage to all of the buildings. And ideally, I think we've spoken about this quite a few times publicly. And that is, ideally, you want a staff member in the building rather than 2 days in this building, 3 days in another. Although they're incredibly, as effective as possible, I think we all know they would be much more effective to build relationships 5 days a week in the one building. They get to know the kids even better. get to know the names of students, the staff members, and, probably overall, they're going to be much more effective like that. And that's been our goal.
But I also think that we have to look at other things because social emotional health is everybody's responsibility
Right.
in the building. And realistically, a social worker and a psychologist is not enough to solve the issues that we're faced with right now. So we are looking at other things. We're looking at applications to assess, students, like where they could do a check-in on their laptop. We're looking at, other programs. What's the program that you're rolling out now? Yeah, Calm Classroom. We're looking at different things so that, kids, we can address those needs in the classroom because, to put that responsibility on one or two people in the building, it's just not realistic. The teachers also are responsible
Right.
for the social emotional needs of the class, the kids in their classroom.
Well, I'm also, teaching our parents
Yep.
to see the triggers, to see, just to, hey, ask your child, how are they doing? They're always on their devices, unfortunately,
Right.
Yeah.
I think it's a really, 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 it's a hard time for kids. And I think, we're seeing the learning loss with the younger kids, but I'm seeing the social emotional needs really big time for the older kids because you have to think the younger kids are kind of used to wearing the mask. But the kids that are in 11th grade, 10th graders, this is a huge transition for those kids. So the impact on mental health is tremendous. And some kids, they're on Snapchat and they're thinking this is like doomsday, and it's not. And, I don't know how to change that thought process, but I do think that as a district, we have to do something.
Yeah. It takes a village, like they always say.
does.
Starting at home, and then,
Do we have any funds whereby we can kind of help educate the parents to help their children also?
Yeah, I think that was the whole idea of starting the CPAC for us. We wanted the parents' voice at the table to come up with creative ideas because the parents know, how to get parents out. And we picked some pretty vocal parents, right? We picked some vocal parents to be a part of that. We're sending out from our department a survey. We'll probably send it out on Monday. We created it. It's going to go out on Parent Square to kind of get a sense of what parents are feeling and what's going on with them. And then we're gonna set some goals based on that, and there are going to be some questions in there. Also, like I set up a meeting on Monday, I'm meeting with the cabinet and we're looking at an application. I don't know if we're going to use it, I'm not sold on it, but we're going to look at it and see, if it's something that would be helpful because in that application, it actually addresses not only students' social emotional health, but it addresses the social emotional health of the teachers as well. And that's something that we have to look at and see if it, is a worthwhile opportunity to address this issue. But it's going to have to be a multitude of things, right? The Parent Resource Library, I thought, if I push that out, get it on the website, and we already created it, we just didn't release it yet because we wanted to, have pictures of the students that actually won the video competition. So in that release when we send it out, but there's a lot of stuff in there that'll help parents, and that may be a start, and maybe we'll send that out. Over the summer, I asked Sean, I said, I want you to do something like a curriculum writing project. I want you to create a calendar with your staff, whoever's willing to come in the summer, we'll give them, like a curriculum writing, and I want them to create a calendar to address the social emotional needs, not only of the students, but of the staff too. So to come up with some activities that your staff is, can roll out. And it could be simple things like morning announcements. It could be, sending out a Parent Square, message. It could be different activities that we do after school with kids. But I want them to really work on that because it's a need. It really is a need. And, it's funny because my entire career, and Mr. Loshner knows, that my entire career I've been a big proponent of social emotional health And, we brought in Rachel's Challenge. We brought in all these things many years. And now I'm dealing with this and I'm like, I have a lot of ideas and I think, it's the perfect time for me to be in this seat. Because it's my work. I have plans and talk about an alternative high school. I wrote the plan probably 3 or 4 years ago.
3 in the morning.
Yeah.
I know.
But
I usually get the text and I answer and I tell her, go to sleep, Rhonda.
She's better than me.
a woman full of ideas, and I have a team, I've never met people that were just as nutty as I am. They're up. They're up too.
Ms. Young, can you do me a favor? Could you send that plan for the alternative school to the board? I mean, Mr. Lotion, is that okay?
No, absolutely, and, it's something that we'd like to do in the very near future,
Yeah.
and this is the time.
Because
obviously, we have
this is part of a ongoing conversation that
Right.
we've kind of been having in terms of this idea of how it is that we can reach our students where they are.
Yeah.
And this idea of the alternative school is something that, that's right there. We've had so many things that, that we haven't been able to do. And now is the opportunity. We talked about, the building the offices and, and renovating the brick and mortar side of our district. But the academic side is just as important, if not more. And that's one of those things that we've always talked about, we've talked about for years. And, and I think that a really robust alternative school program is sustainable. It's something that I think that even through, tough economic times, I think that we can do very, very well with that. So if it's okay with you, Ms. Lotion,
No, I mean-
if you could share that plan.
No, actually, the cabinet and,
gotta meet
Rhonda and
on
I and Ann and Rhonda, we've talked about this many times, and like you said, this is now the time to move forward. One of the things that we worry about is some of the kids that are getting after-school instruction if they're long-term suspended or out-of-school suspended, even for a short term.
Yeah.
We realize, particularly in this day and age, they need to stay current. Otherwise, every day they miss, they fall behind. So if we could do something during the day, that's ultimately our goal, is where we have students who are out of school for a multitude of reasons, temporarily or long-term, where they arrive to a building in the camp, let's say ideally at the high school. They arrive to school, get off a bus, walk, drive, whatever the case may be, and then they go to this spot where they get very focused instruction, okay? And then they're really part of the school day, and then they get on the bus and they go home, okay? So it's really kind of, it is an alternative school, which is what we're speaking about here. And there's lots of reasons why. Like I said, there's lots of individualized needs. And we're not meeting those kids, where we should. But again, there was lots of reasons why we couldn't in the past. Now I think the opportunity is there.
Yeah, I was also, that's part of what the conversation is. I was also wondering about, what we can do, right at the end of the school day. Bringing that alternative mindset to, a school building that doesn't have as many kids. Where the bulk of the kids have gone home or out there doing sports and whatnot, where we could kind of, introduce those kids to our schools, kind of on their terms. I know that we have kids that are, suffer from anxiety because, the presence of, large crowds, just is a trigger. So that's what I was hoping to try to explore, and it's just for discussion.
Right. Well, we do have, obviously, we have lots of extended day programs, but that's not really identifying the kids that you're speaking about. But we did, if you remember, a couple of years ago, we started, but we only had it for a year, and that was over at the Freshman Center. And it was really a very successful program, and we were obviously tweaking it as it went along, but COVID kind of derailed that as well.
Fiscally, those students, I have to, say, the students that are in need of a therapeutic program, you probably would be better off offering that program as a day program, and then it's stack reimbursable. Like you get state aid for the program and you operate it with, normal school hours. But what you're talking about is probably like a 3 to 6:30 program, and we can do the same thing. I mean, if we had a space, then you could have the kids in that space during the day. And then, in the evening, if it's 3 to 6, when those kids leave, you could bring other kids in and use that same facility. So there's a lot of opportunities. I mean, we have to, I don't mind presenting it, but I would like to work on it with the cabinet
Oh, absolutely,
first. Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, do board members have any questions? Thank you so much.
Thank
you
you.
to you and your staff.
Thank you. Stacy, there was one last picture on that slide. I want that picture.
She wants the picture.
I have to put it up because, the very last picture, I hope it's on there because
We have it on the
That-
handout. There they are.
there they are.
All right.
That's my team. We have Vicky on there and Kim. Kim's in the back, but that's the special services team. And these people in this picture work very hard, and, I would be remiss if I didn't thank them. I'm very proud of my team, and I'm very proud to serve the Brentwood community. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. No questions from board members?
Yes.
There is just one more item that I'd like to address. And this was unexpected. It was something that I think that it's better that we address it today. Maybe we'll follow up with a statement tomorrow, written statement. But for some reason, there's a rumor that took off in this community that the Brentwood Board of Education was contemplating and considering not renewing Mr. Losho's contract. There was controversy as to whether he was going to stay or whether he was going to go. I just want to just tell you on behalf of the entire Board of Education, I know that we have two board members that are missing, is that was never a thought. We don't know where this rumor came from. I believe that it's complete misinformation. And I just wanted to bring that to the community's attention. And I also know that no matter what we said, I don't think that there's anything there's more valuable than actually hearing it from Mr. Loshner himself. So, Mr. Loshner, if I could toss this hot
Sure.
potato over to you, that would be great.
Yes, I'm sorry it has gotten to this point. I understand that there was something that's on social media. I do apologize for that. To be quite honest with you, let me back it up a little bit. My contract actually has another year built into it. Okay, my contract expires theoretically in June, but the board, the last time they issued my contract, they actually gave me an additional year. Now, it was my responsibility to tell the board that I wanted to exercise that 6th year. It was not the board's responsibility, it was actually mine. Actually, Ms. Hoey reminded me in the fall, in like November, December, like you never told the board just yet. And you know what, things just got busy, to be quite honest with you, and we were dealing with lots of issues, as you know, in December and January. And it was my intention to tell the board that I would like to exercise that 6th year if they would have me. The board, it really was not their responsibility, it was my responsibility to tell them. Tonight, this evening, in exec session, we did talk about it. I did ask them if I could have an additional year. Actually, they are talking about giving me an additional 2 years that I could exercise. Thank you. But, so I would like to, first of all, straighten the record out that the board never said to me, you're not coming back next year. That's number one. Number two, it was really my responsibility, and we just never got around to it. I didn't think really people were noticing, to be quite honest with you. I didn't think it was going to be an issue till I actually had a chance to speak to the board. I would, the people who did write, obviously, that I'm very grateful and humbled that people would actually, do that on social media. But I did want to set the record straight that I am coming back next year, looking forward to it. And I want to say there's a lot of reasons I want to. Obviously, you know how much I love this community and I love the kids in particular. But I'm also excited about what we're doing. So blessed to work with a tremendous cabinet. Stacy, Rhonda, Ann, and Wanda are, I think, I've said it before, but I think they're the best cabinet that, Brentwood has ever had. And we're moving places. We really, really are. I did want to thank Rhonda for her presentation tonight. I thought it was exceptional. You've heard me say before, too, she's incredibly creative, energetic. She pours her heart and soul into this, as does her team. Her entire team is here, which says a lot about Rhonda and her cabinet. It's really, they really do focus on student outcomes, and it's really exciting to be a part of it. So I'm blessed to really be here with such talented people who are so dedicated to really improving the circumstances for students and families. So I'm fortunate. I'm fortunate that the board wants to bring me back next year. I want to thank them publicly, and also I'm looking forward to it. But a lot of reasons is because of the kids, the families, the community, the parents. I think are wonderful. They are so they're so grateful for everything that we do, and obviously they also will hold our feet to the fire when we don't do what we should. And I like that. I never mind parents or students when they say, hey, you should do it this way, and we'll think about it and we'll improve. And I appreciate that also. So I think we have a good mix of people, and I'm looking forward to another outstanding year next year. One final thing. It's been a tough couple of years with COVID. I got to be quite honest with you. It's been rough on everyone. Students, I think, have, as Ms. Young pointed out, been impacted beyond what we thought they would be, and I think we're still in it. So I was a part of this, tremendous district as we went into COVID. I'm hoping next year we're coming out of COVID, and I could be a part of that, almost like a rebirth, because I'm looking forward to it. So that's it.
Thank you, Mr. Lochner, for that. And, I just wanted to just add, this Board of Education may have its differences, and, we are a very, very spirited bunch. But there's no doubt that we are trying to do what's best for this district. And when I tell you that there was absolutely no thought in anyone's mind in terms of, changing the direction that we are heading in right now, I'm speaking on behalf of everyone. There wasn't even a thought. I have said this publicly, and I think that all board members have echoed the same. We have a tremendous cabinet. We're absolutely blessed to have the people in place, but we also have a tremendous leader. And I, just reflecting on the members of this board currently, I also want to say that, I am also equally blessed to be serving on this board with people who are dedicated to making sure that we stay on this path. We've come a very, very long way, and I think that it is the partnership between the Board of Education, the superintendent, and his cabinet that have been, this energy behind this rebirth. And I want to just take that word that, that you just used, because I believe that the rebirth started about 5 or 6 years ago when we came together. This didn't just start now. I mean, we were heading towards rebuilding years ago when we started, and I just, I want to say thank you to each and every one of the board members who are here, those who are not, and we will continue to do the good work that we have already started. So thank you.
If I could just say one more thing, I'm sorry, Mr. Feliciano. I was thinking too, I didn't mention, a critical, part of this district, and that is the staff. I mentioned the students and I mentioned the families, but I really would be remiss, I would feel terrible later on if I thought about what I had said, and I didn't mention really the staff who have weathered this last 2 years also. You know, we always talk about the kids, but I know the teachers in the classrooms, the TAs, the monitors, you know, they have had a rough go of this always, also. But, you know, I'm talking to the clericals, the custodians, the nurses, the security. I think we're IT department over here. Administrators. And you know, I always do. Because I know, and I haven't forgotten. But you know what? I always just think of them. I always think, I try to think of myself as teachers too. But thank you, Ms. Palmer, for pointing that out before I got in even more trouble. And the administrators, yes, tremendous. I mean, I think that we have more than any other district that I'm aware of. Our teachers, our administrators, our entire staff really are so dedicated to really improving the lives of kids. And they do a tremendous job. And obviously the schools every day. And top to bottom, administrator to food service workers, to nurses, to everybody. I think they really do work together in just a great effort. And I really do appreciate that I'm a part of this. I'm very thankful, very grateful to be a part of it.
Mr. Losha, you didn't mention the TAs, so I'm just going to throw.
Did I say TAs? I thought I did.
Okay, so listen, I just want to make sure we cover all the bases, all right?
I don't want to leave anybody out.
But, yes.
Oh my gosh, the bus drivers, monitors,
Absolutely.
crossing guards.
Yeah. I just, you know, I just want to say that just in this sense, you know, what we're experiencing right now is the energy that we have. I think that we see all of the potential. I think that the presentation tonight really did shed light in terms of, you know, where we were, what we were able to bring back in terms of the support staff, and what we can potentially do now that we have the, you know, funding for it. So, you know, I think that we have a great opportunity. I think that we have the right people in place to get this done. I'm looking forward to, you know, what it is that we can accomplish in the next few years, because I think it's going to be just tremendous. Thank you, and I'm so glad that we were able to put this to the side, because these distractions really just aren't good. We are on a positive high, and let's just keep pushing forward. And so thank you.
Thank you.
I just wanted to add about the special bulletin that went out, you know, that hit many of our households. And, you know, there's many special capital projects that we always dreamed of, you know, that, you know, we're finally doing, you know.
Absolutely.
And I'm so happy that, you know, the state decided to fund us, you know. You know, the money's finally trickling in, and, you know, we are trying to level the playing field for Brentwood, which is something that, you know, is a positive.
That's right. Very well said.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So with that said, could I have a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting, please?
Motion.
Motion by trustee Safiri. Could I have a second, please?
Second.
Second by trustee Holder Daniel. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? So moved. Have a wonderful night. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good job.